Today I'd like to talk about the Proud Boys. Lately here, close by us, there's been some marches by the Proud Boys. There was one in Rockville Center on Long Island. There was another one in the Patchogue area. So people are saying, well, who are these Proud Boys? What's the story? So it might be worth taking a look at who are the Proud Boys and what kind of statement are they making, and how can we enter into a fruitful dialogue with the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys slogan seems to be, "Don't tread on me." So the thought would be that some of these individuals, although they're kind of small in number, these various gatherings that they've had locally here, maybe 15, 20 at the most. So we're not talking about large numbers of people. But there are some who feel that they are being treaded upon. So that would sort of indicate to me that these individuals are feeling that maybe they're left out of the mainstream. There's groups that are taking advantage of them, groups that are not respecting them. So this idea of "don't tread on me." When they marched in Rockville Center, they gave certain white power gestures. So the idea is that they are, it seems, mostly white, and they feel that this white power is important. So again, the thought might be that they feel that they're being attacked. Maybe their whiteness is being attacked. Maybe white people aren't being treated fairly. Maybe white people are being taken advantage of. Maybe white people are using some of their power and prestige. So we need to reassert white power. Uh, and one would say, well, is this a good thing? White power, black power, red power, orange power. I mean, why the desire for power? Why not the desire for dialogue? Why not the desire to work with other groups? That would be the thought in terms of, different power groups, and why should one group be more powerful than another group? They also seem to use these Heil Hitler gestures, which again evokes an era that most of us would say was not a good era. Certainly, a number of the things that Hitler did, particularly with regard to exterminating our Jewish brothers and sisters and those with handicaps and those with very strong religious convictions who stood up against the Nazi regime. This would not be a good thing, obviously, to perpetuate. But there is a certain attraction, I guess, people have for the figure of Hitler. The fact that he was powerful and magnetic, charismatic. Some people are attracted to that. But again, you have to kind of dialogue and say, well, what are the things that Hitler did that we certainly don't want to imitate? The things that we worked so hard to defeat in World War II. Many people, when they see that Heil Hitler gesture, feel that you really are disrespecting the sacrifices of many veterans who put their lives on the line to end Nazism. So again, there would be that dimension to that gesture, and so you'd have to say, well, maybe that's not a good way to go, obviously, to make that type of gesture. Interestingly, though, the Proud Boys do deny that they are racist. They say that they are not racist, that they want everyone to be treated fairly and equally and equitably, that they don't have any racist feelings within their group. So certainly that would be a positive. But at the same time, when they say they are not racist, they seem to be attacking minorities, and they seem to be attacking those who say, well, we need more rights for our particular group. We need more equity. We need more fairness. So they say they're not racist, but yet when you attack minorities, is this really another form of racism, maybe? So again, you'd have to dialogue about, well, what do they mean when they say they're not racist. Their slogan seems to be that they should make America great again, and certainly there is no one who is against making America great. But again, what does that mean, to be great? Does it mean to exploit others, to put others down so we can be great and you're not great? Again, there's a vagueness with that slogan. So again, you'd have to dialogue and say, what exactly do you mean to make America great again? To what era are you referring? Are you referring to the Revolutionary War? Or are you referring to World War II, World War I? What era are you referring to when America was great? And certainly some would say, well, America seems to be doing well in many areas and is great right now. So exactly what is meant by make America great again? They seem to be headquartered from the reporting in the town of St. James. But again, a small group. So certainly because they're headquartered in St. James, we can't say they're representative of that community in any way, shape, or form, obviously. They were designated as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. And of course, with some of these hate groups that are designated, that designation can change over time as the group evolves. And some of these groups that were hate groups seem to fall apart very quickly. So how long will this group last? Will it have staying power? Will it splinter? Many of these groups have splintered. But certainly those in the Southern Poverty Law Center who track hate groups are concerned about them, concerned about some of their teachings and some of their, I guess, attitudes that they display in public. And so that's why they would be designated as a hate group. They seem to be dedicated to violence, so their philosophy seems to be that violence is important, it's necessary for our group, and maybe part of that might be that they feel, don't tread on me, that in some way they've been taken advantage of or they've been attacked. So they should defend themselves, and they should defend themselves in violent ways and not embrace nonviolence, which certainly would be a preferable way to work on change, the nonviolent approach where you respect other people and you don't get into fights and attacks and that type of thing, which is really leading to more bitterness among groups. Jason Kessler, who was their head at one point, organized the Unite to Right in Charlottesville, Virginia, this rally really to unite all these different groups, some of which groups were fortunately anti-Semitic and pro-Nazi groups, and they all came together, members of the Klan, and so they tried to unite in Charlottesville, and we saw, unfortunately, the violence that ensued as a result of that, and actually the death by a lady being run over by a car. So again, when the founder of the group was the organizer of that, it does cast a shadow over the group. Two of the prominent members, Ethan Norden and Joseph Biggs, they were charged in the January 6th kind of riot there at the Capitol when they broke into the Capitol. And they were charged with regard to that. So again, some association of some of the Proud Boys. Again, sometimes if there's a leader involved in doing something or certain members, it doesn't mean that the entire group was involved in it, just perhaps some of the individuals. So we can't tar everyone in the group with that label, certainly. Interesting, some people ask, well, where does that name, the Proud Boys, come from? So one of the founders of the group, Gavin McInnes, along with the leaders and some others, Gavin claims that when he heard what he took to be a gay young man singing "Proud of Your Boy," it was from the stage version of the show Aladdin. He said, I think I'll take that name for the group. So "Proud to Be Your Boy" was combined into the Proud Boys. And the idea certainly that we should be proud in who we are. We should be proud of the gifts that God has given us. We should be proud of, you know, the fact that we have what we have accomplished. Proud, and you get the idea of pride as a sin and humility certainly as the better path. There's a good, I guess, healthy sense of being proud in the sense of believing in oneself, but also the idea of taking it to an extreme where the pride would be at the expense of other people would not be a good thing. Nemekinus, the co-founded Vice magazine, and on YouTube, he has a YouTube 10 things I hate about Jews. Again, the anti-Semitism, obviously. He also declared himself to be an Islamophobe. He said, I cannot recommend violence enough. It is really an effective way to solve problems. And I think what some people are saying in terms of that is, well, the violence is sometimes necessary to kind of stand up for yourself if you're being abused or taken advantage of. But the idea of violence all the time and not using other paths, that certainly would be a negative. So what does the group stand for? Some of the things the group stands for is they want less government. They don't believe in political correctness. They don't think there should be a war on drugs. They believe that borders should be closed, and they believe there should be an end to racial guilt. All of these things certainly are debatable propositions that you can engage in dialogue about. There are people that do want less government. They feel the government is too intrusive. So there might be a possibility for dialogue there. Political correctness, again, is a topic that is much debated. But exactly what it means, again, area for dialogue. The war on drugs, again, what the specific aspect of that war. Some people would say the war has had negative effects in terms of, racism targeted towards specific groups. Has it been effective? Is there a better approach? Closed borders. Certainly there should be respect for borders, but what about people seeking asylum? There's again a discussion there. An end to racial guilt. Certainly racial guilt, the idea that we should be guilty because of a certain race, but certainly accountability, fairness, justice would be important areas to dialogue with regard to that. Its platform does include anti-racism, although its members are frequently hateful towards black and brown people. So they're anti-racist, but yet they hate certain groups. How does that work together in harmony again? They have to have a discussion there. They have a support for the First Amendment. The group first gained fame trying to silence, though, and intimidate those protesting police violence against black people. So when the protesters came out, the Proud Boys came out against them and said, you shouldn't be saying this about the police. The police aren't that violent. But yet the other side was saying, well, what about these people who were unarmed and they were shot by police? Where's the justice, the accountability? What about their First Amendment rights? Sometimes it's funny with the First Amendment in terms of, well, I have freedom of speech, but I don't know if you should have freedom of speech. So, it's again a question of dialogue and respecting the other person and saying, well, what do you really believe? And how can we achieve some fruitful dialogue here and discussion about these positions and arrive at a common belief? The Proud Boys posters, some of their posters glorify the entrepreneur and the importance certainly of entrepreneurs, and we can all admire entrepreneurs and what they're able to do. Venerate the housewife, the importance of housewives certainly, and they have a critical role in the raising of children. That would be certainly a positive. And then reinstate the spirit of Western chauvinism. Well, Western chauvinism led to so many bad things too. You'd have to say, well, wait a minute, what about that? What about the exploitation of the native population that Western chauvinism led to? And what about the Native Americans who are not allowed to keep their own traditions and their own customs? Is that a good thing? So again, areas for dialogue there. They're full members, or when they're initiated, they must take a beating from other members. And certainly that doesn't kind of make too much sense. Why should you take a beating from other members to be part of a group? I guess the idea is to prove your toughness, to prove that you can fit into a group. But is that a good thing? Is that a healthy thing? And then part of the initiation is physically attacking opponents. So to be part of the group, you have to physically attack somebody who is in a different group. So I guess when you're protesting and there are those who are the counter-protesters, if you attack them, then you can be part of our group. We can accept you because this is part of your initiation. But again, a group so, initiated into violence, is that a good thing? Is that a healthy thing for our communities? Is that the way we should go in terms of having a discussion, in terms of progress, in terms of establishing more justice, and making our world more kind and compassionate? They're allowed to express themselves fully. They certainly, and they should be, they're allowed to march, to speak, to debate, to engage in discussion. That's a healthy thing in our democracy. The fact that the Proud Boys exist, it's their constitutional right, and certainly nobody should deny them that right. But again, within limits, certainly you don't want violence in the streets from any quarter, no matter what people are representing or trying to accomplish. The violence is not going to really lead to solutions. It's going to lead to really, and it has certainly, to more problems. So we certainly embrace their right to say what they want to say, as long as they certainly do it in respectful ways and not in violent ways. So just some thoughts about possibility of dialoguing with the Proud Boys in areas where there can be some discussion, some healthy discussion about things in our democracy that they would like to address.